Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest booklet for music nerds.
I love when things come full circle and it's like you're riding a tandem bicycle and everything in life makes sense. And right now, everything in life on this stage makes sense. So I want to thank Casey Yarborough, his lovely wife Allison, for being our hosts. I want to thank Jameson for
thank you for the venue.
Letting us have thank you for the venue, the opportunity to do things that are really important to us.
Spring day.
Yes.
This will probably come out in the summertime, but
yes,
it's still nice here.
Thank you for letting us do what we love, which is be with people that we love, that are like-minded, good stuff, and talk about things that we love. So our guest today, I've known for a minute, and I've been a fan of his on stage, playing guitar, and
You were playing guitar?
No.
I want to see that.
Poorly.
Yeah.
Everything is, yes, we'll get into that later. But I always love watching him play. I always love watching his stage presence and his presence off stage as well. But the wild thing is I just even more just a big fan of him as a human. Nothing but lovely correspondence every time I see this gentleman. Randy Michael.
Randy.
This is Cassie and James.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
And
Nice
what's so
to meet
great
you
about the
officially.
show is when we started doing this is sometimes, we're lucky and we all know the person, but sometimes we're lucky and one person brings it and the other people get a new friend out of it. Mm-hmm. So Randy, amazing musician, but like I said,
keep the compliments going.
Even better human. And I love it that he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I dig your show. I'd love to be a guest."
Thank you for that.
Yes,
That's
thank you so much.
awesome.
That means so much. And he sent me a list, which was awesome, and everyone was like, "This is so great." But this feels like a staple that
It's almost like we've been
overdue.
we've been kind of afraid
to talk about this
approach
artist. Yeah.
this artist because it's a big
thing.
It's a big
and actually
big piece to chomp on.
And coming from a production background, you as a player and a producer and a writer, it makes complete sense that you would be the one talking about this. So can you please talk about this record? Or
What is the record?
Well, I brought Bob Dylan Highway 61 to visit it. Yeah, you got one too.
I had
take
one
mine out of
too.
the plastic like it's going to do anything.
yeah.
But yeah, I got the CD when I was 12. Right?
Oh, wow.
And remember when VH1 used to have those like the top rated songs, or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, he was number 2.
Really?
Like a Rolling Stone was number 2,
Yeah.
and the Stones I think was number 1, Satisfaction. But I'd never heard Dylan before.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, this is incredible.
Amazing.
So I went to Media Play. Remember Media Play?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Went to
my
Media
wife
Play.
worked at Media Play.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But I went there and I got the CD. I listened to it constantly. And before that, I was playing guitar like 2 years before.
Right.
But I was listening to like Richie Valens.
And you were 12?
I was 12. Yeah.
You were 12.
We started
I
playing
mean-
guitar when he was
I
10
started
and
playing,
discovered.
See, like that's really
That's
really
formative.
that's
Yeah, well-
so cool.
Well, the thing is that when I was a kid in the house, my old man only played Ghetto Boys, NWA,
Right.
That kind of stuff. So I never heard a guitar song
Right.
until
So
I
it just
saw
blew,
Richie Valens.
it blew your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, I asked,
I want to play this.
Julie Burke in my 4th grade class, and hey, listen, I'll take out your trash if I can have that guitar.
Are you kidding
Really?
me?
And she gave it to me. Yeah.
Shout out to Julie
Burke.
That's the stuff. I gotta say, well, we can curse. That's the shit.
Well,
That's the stuff that's inspiring.
I just think it's so incredibly. I mean, well, it's awe-inspiring that a 12-year-old who like their parent. Because for me, I had to be. There were a lot of things out there, and unless it was like like a friend or like an older peer or somebody, like introduced me to it. A lot of things it was hard at that age especially because you're so impressionable to just like step outside of everything that's going on around you and like notice something that's out there and be like that's it.
Yeah, but
that is so cool.
Yeah.
Let's give props to Fox 97.
Yeah.
Because I grew up as well. I've lived here since 1986, and Fox 97, is an oldie station, and it kind of is a great foundation to listen to those classic songs.
Yeah, like Runaway and stuff. You're hearing these melodies.
And I graduated to college radio or whatever later on, WREK and Album 88 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I go to other towns that didn't have as much college radio, a lot of those kids, they also gravitated towards a Fox 97, an oldies station of there, just to get the almost the classics, but also kind of psych rock and a lot of.
Well, you can branch off too.
Yeah.
Right.
You can branch off if that's your foundation.
Right.
If that's your foundation, you can branch off, and then you can go the psych route. You can go the mod route.
Well,
you
for
can go the glam
me,
route.
I listened to a lot of oldies. My mom, we moved around a lot when I was younger, and so we'd make little road trips in between the moves, and it was oldies were the only thing that me and my mom could agree on to listen to. So it's that makes. I'm just really fascinated by that. So it inspired you to.
Well, I was so before I discovered Dylan, I was already playing.
Yeah.
So you remember Good Old Days, Sandy Springs? Mm-hmm. So I was a little kid playing with Josh Sattler.
Oh wow!
When I was 11, I'd go up there and they'd let me. He was in. It was before Double Drive. He was in a band called T. Smith, and they'd go up there and they'd let me do When I Come Around, Green Day. I'd go up there. And
Wow!
Yeah. I got off and had my chicken.
Yeah, that was your 15 minutes up there.
Yeah.
I remember that place. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to keep things on track. So you clearly at a young age you felt comfortable, and you're like, I'm going to think outside the box. I'm going to find my own stuff, And then so you find this, and then what does it do for you?
It's this album. It's not a Bob Dylan greatest hits.
No, it's Like a Rolling Stone was the number 2 song, right?
Sure.
But the thing is, they didn't play Bob Dylan on Fox 97.
No, they wouldn't. You're
you know
right.
what I mean? So that countdown that I saw had a bunch of people that I was familiar with. They had Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Beatles. But then when I heard this song, and then the guys that were commenting on it, John Cougar and a bunch of people, and they were like, "Your song is 6 minutes long."
Right.
And I was like, oh shit. And it's the sound. It wasn't as polished.
Yeah.
The vocals right
dirty
up front.
organ stuff. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's just jamming. But it got me thinking about because before I was just playing guitar. It got me into songwriting and to learn about songwriting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And what a great album to learn about songwriting.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have the Bible there.
Yeah. I told him Dylan's Jesus in my house.
I think like a Rolling Stone might be a little bit longer. I know that they had when it came out, and they had a big problem with on radio stations. They didn't want to play it because it was too long for them to play. So they were playing just I think they put it out half of it was on one side of the single, and you had to flip it. And there was a lot of a lot of people saying that no, we really want this put out. There was a big demand for being able to listen to it all the way through. And at
the
first,
album itself is a warm blanket. It's
beautiful.
Yeah, from Like a Rolling Stone to Desolation Row. And the interesting thing about this record is that two things is that if you this is the first time you've ever heard Dylan, right? This is the first full electric record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when I heard the acoustics, I'm like, holy shit, he's doing this.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because when you go with Dylan, you can go. It's like collecting baseball cards. You can go album for album or song for song.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Certain bands you can't do that.
And
with.
we all know because it's been it was heavily there's so much video of it of the reaction he got that he turned on people, and he was like, no man, he was notorious for saying he was the minute you think you got me in one lane, I'm going to the other.
Yeah.
He's like, don't even think about keeping.
But I love artists like that.
And a lot of people credit him, even though this came out in '65. A lot of people credit him as not a lot of people, but as really the beginning of the '60s movement, because it was really rebellious to do this as a folk singer at the time. It was really, and it was a very rebellious time.
But also the minute someone said, you have a message movement, or you're a freedom fighter, or you're singing for people, he goes, nah. He goes, I'm just, and even though the songs were, he was like, nah, I'm just singing. This is my
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Stop putting me in this box or in this lane. He always talked about tunnels.
Yeah.
He talked about tunnels a lot. He's like, the minute you think I'm going through that tunnel, I'm going outside that tunnel. Like I'm taking this side.
And a lot of people don't want that stamp put on them. You know what I mean? Because then you can't do anything else.
You're very
you
smart.
know
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about this, right? This is going to go off track a little bit, but it's going to come back, right?
Yep.
When you think about an artist like Bowie, right? Who you can look at Bowie's records like films, right?
Yeah.
Where he's a star, the producer's a director, and the songs are the scenes, right?
Oh, nice.
And then, but every album, he's a different guy.
Yeah.
But we all accept it.
Yeah.
And he was so good at that.
He's like a different character. He's playing a
he was
different
a
character
thespian,
every
yeah.
album.
More than
Yeah.
anyone,
Right.
probably.
But
Yeah,
we
oh,
all
yeah.
accept it, right? But there's certain guys that if they try to do that, they'll, oh man, fuck him.
Yeah,
right.
He's
So you're saying,
I
like,
don't
so you're
accept
saying
it.
Dylan like was one of those where it's like people were like, and then but he did it anyway.
Right, but but you can still listen to a Dylan record like Highway 61 doesn't sound like Blonde on Blonde, doesn't sound like National Skyline, you know what I mean?
And-
Constantly
But not
changing.
only that, this was so far outside of like what everybody had pretty much defined Dylan as being,
It was
and he
huge.
did it anyway, even though he got so much flack for it. But at the same time, it ended up being such an influential album
It's
because he
wonderful.
did that, because he stuck his neck out and just said,
And
"You can't
all-
put me in this little box."
And also, let's be honest. I mean, like, money. Because, his songs that he was writing for other people.
That's where he.
You know what I mean? He's
They made more money, like
Yeah.
the people that covered him and
Yeah,
stuff.
but when he gets that royalty check, he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get electric guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you can cover my fucking Birds, that whole Mr. Tambourine Man,
Yeah.
is all doing something.
It's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, actually, a lot of that. Yeah.
But I've been in that situation too, where with different artists, where they do something different, and you're in this like sort of, am I okay with this?
Right.
Or do I have to? Or am I out? Am I off?
Exactly.
Like I'm jumping ship with this artist because I don't like where they're going
Right.
creatively.
Because they didn't convince you.
Right.
You don't believe it.
But then later on, I will realize.
Yeah, and you'll come back to
obviously,
it.
Right.
Okay,
Well-
I was wrong.
Right.
That's the beauty
I
of
should
something
have
being
stayed
doc.
with them
That's the
because
beauty
they
of
were
something
they
being
were on the right
documented.
track. I just
Right.
didn't see it. I didn't understand it at that point.
Well, then explain
Yeah.
Dirty Work, because that record stunk. Should have killed the Stones' career.
I can't get. Well, that's
See
a
what I'm
whole
saying?
other episode.
but they get a pass. So certain guys get a pass.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
but
because
I don't know. I
they've
don't think
reached
there's a
tenure.
good record
They can
since.
do what they want.
Well, some people say the last good record they did was Tattoo You, but that's another episode.
Yeah, it is.
I saw him on the Steel Wheels tour, and there's a few good songs on that record. And that was like '89,
No,
But
that's all.
But Dylan's like the quintessential, like the first
Yes.
of that type
Well-
of artist, where you're like, you're coming with me or
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
Like I'm
Well,
going to do this.
He's
A
the
lot of
hero
it
of his
was
shit.
like,
Yeah.
speaking of like, kind of getting like you were saying, like put in a box or whatever and not liking that. Like really, the cornerstone of this album is like a Rolling Stone, of course. And he had come off of tour, like I think in like England, and he was really disillusioned. Like he was, he was angry. I think he was just kind of sick of the routine that was expected of him, just being like folk. Like, it wasn't.
Right.
Like
and
so many artists.
He wrote like some
Don't put me in a box.
20 page,
Yeah.
just kind of like what he describes as like word vomit. That actually he ended up narrowing down, that became like a Rolling Stone.
Right.
It was just really kind of a rebellion
Right.
to like what was.
Right, but he did.
was a
Let's
statement.
be honest. He
Yeah.
did dip his toe in the water with Bring It All Back Home.
Yeah.
The whole side's acoustic, and
Yeah.
the other side's electric. Let me see
Right.
if I can do this shit. Let me see what they think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think he certainly over the years is known as not someone who does interviews. When he does it, he makes it count, and he loves antagonizing and let's say mind messing with people.
Yeah.
So
He loves being like, I don't think it's like ambiguous. He loves using like descriptions, like poetic descriptions that he like labels for people, so you don't really know who the person is, but you
Sure.
can sit there and think like on all of these songs, he makes references to people that you can probably attribute to
Yes,
other people.
yes.
As you grow old too, like when I listened to this song when I was 12, it doesn't mean the same to me when I was 24,
Right,
when I was
right.
30,
Right.
when I was 36.
Right.
That is the best, and
Yeah.
somehow it just gets wonderful and
Yeah,
better with
better,
age.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, it's kind of like especially for that time period, like the best.
Did you say it was like Bukowski? Yeah.
It's like the best opening track of a record. It's like it's like I just got arm hair.
Well,
my arm hair is just went up.
Just like a grand statement.
Yeah,
like
it's like this is where I'm
gonna
at.
do this epic song that's going to be the second greatest song ever written or whatever, and it's
the Stones covered
this is it.
I mean,
you spent more time than any of us with this album.
But I've listened to it twice this week just so I could hang with you.
This is good. But here's the thing: you got to also take into consideration the musical children of Dylan, like Petty.
Yeah.
Like
hands
like Lou Reed.
Oh, what a good, you know, in '72, Rolling Stone at that time, you know, they were a political magazine, and they were actually their words were valid, and they were having bets to see if either Tom Waits or Bruce Springsteen was going to be the next Dylan. They literally were like, who is the next Dylan? You know? But you're right, Tom Petty, and I'm a huge Knopfler fan as a guitarist and a vocalist, and no one puts that in there.
Tunnel of Love,
unbelievable.
If that could be a Dylan song.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, Petty's the obvious one, but then Greetings from Asbury Park
is
Dylan. But they do it in a way that's...
You think Petty's the obvious one as opposed to like between Tom Waits and Petty? Really?
Yeah, because here's why. I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. They have the same... It's like... they have the same sort of vocal mannerisms.
It's
like,
the phrasing.
And when Dylan will do something to Petty, and they'll say a good line, they'll kind of chuckle in the song.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
They played it in a supergroup later.
Yeah, exactly.
But they also, but I would say, I understand the Waits thing because Waits develops these characters.
Yeah, he started off as a more
crazy,
acoustic folk artist.
They're crazy characters. And they always have like weird names, and they're very developed into songs. And like you see that throughout this album when they're
but I would say
about
Greetings from Asbury Park more. I would say Bruce Springsteen.
I can see that.
Even though he's got Dylan sprinkled in there, he's more of like a Jack Kerouac, Bukowski guy.
Okay.
Who just happens to be a musician.
He's more like a kind of a beat guy.
Yeah.
Certainly when he started out, then he became more like Captain Beefheart and Howlin' Wolf.
But I love, honestly, like I'm not the biggest Bob Dylan fan myself, but all of his descendants are big fans of. And I think all the people that he's influenced are like my big touchstones. So when I was saying like Lou Reed, when you listen to the Velvet Underground records and stuff, I look at how much Dylan influenced Lou Reed and how he sings, how he writes, and almost I was listening to this album today, and I was thinking you know what, you can hear the first Velvet Underground or the early Velvet Underground albums in this album, but with different kind of production, with different,
it's
with
an art, different attitude,
a New York art, approach.
Yeah, because he's got
Bob Dylan.
Because Dylan's got a bunch
ideas.
of he's got a bunch of he's got his backing band, I mean, I guess this was done in New York, or was it? I think it was done in New York. But the Nashville guys I played with him later, and then the Hawks in the band. But Velvet Underground, they're not. They make do it what they have.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not well versed musically like these guys. You know what I mean? Right. So it's going to come out the way they're doing.
It's a different presentation.
Different presentation.
It's like a different band, completely different people, but you can feel it coming from Dylan. You can see the template.
I love it because I would never have thought that. Even some of the Lou Reed solo stuff, the New York album.
But he's recognized that Dylan is his biggest
big time
influence.
But the funny thing is sometimes you don't see it as a listener until someone points it out to you. You know, like him mentioning Knopfler. I've been listening to a lot of Knopfler lately. You know, not only the Dire Straits stuff, his solo stuff, and he might, I totally hear that now. It's in that, and he's like there's that sardonic sarcasm in that delivery.
But it's also, that's very true. But it's also, he's writing that shit. He's like, oh man, this is some good shit. You know what I mean? Like, he knows it's good.
It's a great,
Yeah, like the star. Yeah. No, but like the star. The star.
It's like if I'm gonna say 8 words. 7 of them are going to be so serious, and I'm crying my guts out. But the 8th word, I'm going to make fun of my lip.
Exactly.
Or like, you know what I mean? You know, and just like go for it. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I've always loved that because I certainly don't ever want to take myself too seriously as an artist. You know, it's like you take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself.
Right. Exactly.
And Dylan could have been a comedian probably.
Well, exactly.
Some of the stuff he says.
If you listen to another side about Dylan, a lot of those songs, he's got to be just taking the piss.
Oh, he's totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think he's like, what can I get away with? Let's have a good time.
Exactly. We can't do it. But we got to talk about, this is the first time anybody's heard Al Kooper.
Oh my God! Because I was just sitting there thinking we got to talk about Al Kooper because Al Kooper almost wasn't even on this because he was just brought in. Well, he was brought in like just
to play guitar.
To observe. No, I think he was brought in just to observe or something, and he wanted to play guitar, but then he felt like intimidated by I think it was like
Mike Bloomfield.
Yes, so I think it was Bloomfield. Yeah, and so he didn't do that, but then he ended up contributing so much like of the organ, but he wasn't an organ player.
No. They accidentally heard him playing when the tape was rolling.
No. I think he told them like he's like, I think I have a really good part for that. And like nobody took him seriously because he wasn't an organ player.
Tom Wilson, the producer, he produced
Tom
every
Wilson,
Bob Dylan record apart from the first one. But he only produced like Rolling Stone, and he got fired.
But Tom Wilson he's the one that brought Al Kooper, and his full name I think is Alan Kooper. He brought him in, because it's on the is Alan Kooper on the back, Alan Cooper. So he brought him in, I think, just to observe for I don't know, and then he really wanted to contribute, but then he felt intimidated about the guitar.
I have an idea.
But I have an idea for the organ.
Yes.
And then they were like, but you're not an organ player, so nobody took him seriously. But he went in and honestly, for Like a Rolling Stone, and that organ part on Like a Rolling Stone is so important to that song.
I mean, that organ part. I mean, if you listen to that, then now you listen to.
But he ended up playing on all the other, on most of the other songs, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he ended up being, but he also ended up discovering Leonard Skinner. He also played on You Can't Always Get What You Want.
Al Kooper ended up discovering Leonard Skinner and all that? Really?
He produced those records, and he discovered it.
Amazing.
Really?
And it's him on You Can't Always Get What You Want, Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Really?
All those records, that one song made his entire
I'm going to say cheers to Al Kooper.
And he almost didn't do it because he wasn't an organ player.
He wasn't.
I mean, by his own admission, he was not an organ player, but in his mind he had like a melody that he thought would go really well with that song.
It is so, talk about iconic.
And it's like, if you think about like a Booker T or somebody, like he wouldn't have done what he did. Like it was almost like a very sort of non-traditional way.
Well, he plays an eighth note behind the band every time.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's magical.
It's so because he doesn't know the song.
It's that warm blanket.
So the band hits a note.
He's like following them.
Yeah.
I hear this. I hit this.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to Al.
Hey, cheers.
Yeah,
cheers.
hell yeah.
Which one's mine?
That's you, Randy.
So,
fantastic guest, and we still got more to talk about.
Yeah,
but much love in the house. Man,
so what are your favorite songs on this album?
Oh,
just really quickly, because you know this album inside and out.
First and foremost, Queen Jane and Prostitute.
I love that one. I
that
do.
Song.
That is one of my favorites. Yes.
I like It Takes a Lot to Laugh. Ballad of a Thin Man.
Yes.
I mean, I like all these fucking songs. Man.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like
a perfect album, right?
My favorite is Queen Jane.
Yeah,
it always has been.
That's one of my favorites too.
But on this album.
But definitely on this album, it's one of my favorites too. And to be perfectly honest with you, I had not heard. I mean, obviously, there's songs on here I had heard, of course.
I'm probably going to be texting you Dylan songs.
I hadn't heard this whole. I had never listened to the whole album.
Yeah.
And we did that. On the Miles Davis episode, we were talking about Sunday music, and I didn't have any Sunday music.
Inside Away was my Sunday morning record.
But I think this after listening to this, I understood what you guys meant by Sunday music.
Drinking coffee, reading the newspaper, you put this on.
It makes you feel so good, and it's like it lifts you up, but not too up. But it's just
right.
And that's what Fox 97 does. That's why all those kids.
As a kid, the songs. That's the beauty of it, because you hear a song and you could smell something, or remember the blouse or the sweater your girlfriend was wearing when she either said she loved you or she broke up with you, and that's what this is about. Because music is magic, and and especially coming from these desperate times today, where people just push a single or a song, or you're lucky if an album has 2 good songs on it. This thing it's like listening to a Sunday morning movie, or like listening to a beautiful piece of art for for the whole thing.
The reason, and a lot of that has to do with even remember back, I wasn't born, but when I was a kid, I watched fucking TV growing up. Yeah. When comedians and actors, they had to be comedians, they had to juggle, they had to sing, they had to do a lot of things.
Put on the whole thing.
Exactly. That's what these guys were doing, up until
that's a good way to put
1999.
Yeah. It's this lost thing that it's so wonderful to go back and revisit, and you realize, and the best thing about it is like you telling us you want to listen to it. James listened to it today. I listened to it a couple times this week. You don't rediscover. You discover things you didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
Sounds. Yeah. And that's talking about Bob's. I was working at a TV station last week, and I said it's Bob all day.
I listened to this
to
twice.
Bob Marley and Bob Dylan. That's
just
it.
today.
And you hear sounds.
I listened to this twice just today. I've listened to it plenty of times the last few weeks. Like a lot, like probably dozens.
Yeah.
Probably dozens of times.
Well, because you're good at it. You dive right in.
I love I love Dylan's lyrics because
amazing.
because it's like such a fun adventure game to sit there and think about who he could be talking about, because he's always talking about somebody. He's not just making up random slogans for people.
I think maybe 65 to 70% of it might be autobiographical, but I don't think he's a storyteller. He's a
very good storyteller, but he actually he comes up with characters, but those characters are definitely based on real people.
But so does Springsteen on that first record.
Right. Well, no, for sure. And that's why I said when you were talking about whether it was well, no, I think I said Tom Waits, because Tom Waits does that too. But I don't know that Tom Waits are really I don't think they're real people.
No,
I think they're made up. Yeah.
Tom Waits does
a great storyteller.
And Bob Dylan is definitely, and I do agree. Bruce Springsteen, they're based on real people. They're based on something salt of the earth, real people, and so
those first couple of
Springsteen
records, it's almost like they're rapping.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
And they're I'm hanging on these 2 chords, and that's what Dylan did in the beginning too. And I'm just going to spit out a spew of truths and lies, and you figure out what it is.
Exactly.
Well, the only Springsteen record we've done is Nebraska, which is a really good one.
It's a great record.
Madmen, Bombers, Drummers, and Indians in the Summer.
That's
if you listen, if you haven't, if in 74, I think, or 73, whenever that Greetings from Asbury Park came out.
I think it was 73.
And you put that shit on, right? You say you never heard. Say I come to your house in 73. Hey, Tom, check this out. You never heard it. You put that shit on. That's the first thing you hear.
Yeah.
It's your first introduction to Bruce Springsteen. Is Blinded by the Light. That first line.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, sure. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and that's the power of the magic in music. Yeah. And all you want to do is capture that more and more and hear it more and more.
You know what? Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be off topic again, but it's going to come right back.
No worries.
Okay.
All right, so listen. A lot of people, I had this discussion with my drummer, John Speaks, right? And he says...
love John Speaks.
John Speaks. He's the drummer also for Young Antiques.
Yes,
right?
love.
He's
best
awesome.
Dude ever.
So we're at Star Bar, and Counting Crows comes on, right? Yeah. And a lot of people hate Counting Crows.
Good songs.
Great songs.
Great songs.
But I said, hey, listen, you like Van Morrison? Yeah. Imagine if Mr. Jones, Van Morrison singing it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, yeah.
Right. No, it's right. All you need is someone to let you know. All you need is someone to let you know that. I agree. Also, I got into this discussion recently. Someone was like, tell me what your, what's the term? Well, what your guilty pleasure is music. I go, I don't have a guilty pleasure. I was like, in my office on Fridays, we dance with Gwen Stefani and Bruno Mars, and we also listen to Marvin Gaye. We have a good time.
I figure if it makes you happy and it moves you, you don't.
And the thing is, a 2-minute or 3-minute song, that by that second chorus you're singing it, Dude, and by the way, Van Morrison, we do need to visit.
Yeah,
Love Van
yeah.
Morrison. You know,
I think a lot of that. I think a lot of that has to do with that '90s production, which makes a song bad. That high percussion snare.
Is that a Casio or is that a computer?
Yeah.
Is that a drum? It's not. It's no real instrument.
80s production, 90s production.
Well, I mean, I'll 82 all day. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Jackson Brown. Jackson Brown's another.
Yes,
I saw Jackson Brown. Okay, I have seen Jump. Okay, I had my mom take me
But
there.
the thing is you're absolutely right. I remember Jeffrey Butcher telling me this. I'm a huge Leonard Cohen fan, and the song Chelsea Hotel. And he goes, she was giving me head on an unmade bed, and he's talking about Janis Joplin, you know, and Leonard Cohen, legendary, wonderful poet. Jeffrey Butcher goes, if David Lee Roth said that lyric in Van Halen, you'd say it was the worst, most misogynistic, cheesy thing ever. But Leonard Cohen's saying you listen to it differently. Exactly. So it's how you put it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's true.
Wow,
it's very true.
yeah.
You know,
in the presentation.
You know, so
wow.
you're absolutely right. And by the way, Counting Crows, what's up? I have a feeling that Rasta wig is a wig. It's not real. Yeah.
That motherfucker can write a song.
Yeah, he can. And Long December, it's great. But anyway, Dylan.
Okay, Dylan. Okay, let's talk about okay, I'm sorry, but there's so many times the past couple weeks that I've just been walking around and I've just had to yell the sun isn't yellow, it's chicken. Because oh my god, that's the kind of lines he writes and they're so fun, right? But they're just but they all have. It's not just writing frivolous, silly fun. He has meaning behind them, and it's fun thinking about what the meanings are, right?
Right.
I actually have been lost in Juarez, but it wasn't raining. But it was around Thanksgiving time, but not Easter.
Not Easter.
But I was lost. I think I just drank too many.
You shouldn't be lost over there.
Tequila pop.
You
They
don't want
kidnap motherfuckers over there.
I know they do, right?
Yeah.
Should we do a letter, please?
Yeah, so we get these letters, and this is a strange one because a lot of times when we were talking about those bicycles earlier, where everyone was just going. And we got a letter from Sally. And just wanted to say,
Sally in the Valley.
Yes, Fast Times. And but the thing is it's kind of this broad question, but I also love it, especially coming from your background as a player, fan, and then a writer, and then a producer. You know, but it says who of the '60s singer-songwriters has had the biggest impact on you? Now, I know you might have already said Dylan, but you could also mention someone else. I know for me, I would say where I am today, Tom Cheshire in my life, hands down, it's Dylan. But 15 years ago, it would have probably been Neil Young. You know?
It's not Tom Cheshire.
No, man, I was born in 70. I was born in 70, and I'm not there yet. I got another 10 albums to write. But I would love to hear what Cassie and James have to say, but if you had to pick, let's say, a close runner-up to what, because Dylan, obviously, when you went there, it opened up other doors, and then you discovered other artists from that time.
But so is it songwriters?
Singer-songwriters. I'm imagining she means from the folk era.
Oh, from the folk era. Okay.
They didn't say that, so I'm not going
She
to.
said 60s.
She said
60s folk era.
She said 60s era.
Okay, well, tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
These questions get loaded.
Because what I want to say.
Say what you want to say.
What I want to say.
Say it.
Is David Bowie.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Because he was doing the folk Space Oddity. He was kind of folk in '69.
Hell
he was.
Yeah. In the late '60s, absolutely.
And one thing we realized early on: there's no wrong answers.
There are no wrong answers.
But technically,
not in the show.
When you talk about '60s, he came in on the tail end.
Yeah.
It's like talking about hair metal and bringing in Enough's Enough. They came in on the tail end. You need the guys in the middle.
Right.
I would say, man, who's a good writer, and I really don't like him, but he's a good writer. It's Jimmy Webb.
Okay, yeah. I know that I've listened to. He had a couple of really long songs. I think he did some stuff with Jimmy Page at some point.
Wichita Lineman.
Yeah, he wrote Wichita Lineman. He also wrote one of my favorite songs, "The Worst That Could Happen."
Yeah.
But I don't really like. I'll go with Bowie. I hate his interviews. I hate Jimmy Webb's interviews.
Yeah.
It bugs me.
Well, it's like it's almost
good.
he.
I mean, it's teetering on the, but yeah,
He
it's
almost
a good one.
Webb came across almost as like Marin, like he's pissed off that he's not more famous or something. And I'm like, just admit, enjoy what you got.
I think when I watch him, I think he can't do an interview without me. My buddy Brian Wilson.
I'm
friends with Brian Wilson. Remember? It's like, come on,
yeah,
dude.
it's like you want to pick up that name you just dropped on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say thank you, Randy. So for me, it's Dylan. I was this Neil Young fan for a long time, and then I couldn't listen to him because my ex-wife loved him so much, and it killed. I couldn't listen to him. Luckily, these days I'm a badass, happily divorced man, and I can listen to Neil Young again. But I will say, right now, Dylan, all of them, Time Out of Mind, goodness, like everything. Like I go back to these things, and I'm like, I feel like a fly on the wall in his house or his studio. So for me, it's going to be Dylan for the past, from the 60s to even now,
Time Out of Mind is a good one.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Old Man Dylan reflecting.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And even that Scorpion record he did. I follow a bunch of
There's no one like you.
Yeah, There's these sites that people who are like certainly fanatics, and they're like, Scorpion was the last play that Shakespeare wrote. This is hands down Dylan's last record. I'm like, he's done 10 records since. He's covered Sinatra 3 times.
Yeah.
I just love the reinvention, and from the 60s to now. It's inspiring me of what I might work on later on tonight on a song.
Well, for me, I'm definitely going to say, because the letter didn't say folk, so I absolutely have to say Lennon McCartney, only because my mom.
So true.
My mom is my mom is the biggest Beatles fan.
Yeah.
And so since toddlership through,
and they were so big in your household growing up.
They were so big in my household growing up,
yeah.
and so it was just it's like I saw all the Help and Yellow Submarine, like all those, since most, I don't even remember the first time I saw those, and so they definitely had a huge impact on me, because that was the letter, right? Like what had the biggest impact on you? I couldn't help. But those have a big impact.
The letter, I thought the letter said folk, though. It didn't say folk.
No, it did not say folk. It said 60s.
How about skiffle? Yeah, sure.
Did it say?
Let me just change it then.
What was your favorite skiffle
Goffin
artist?
and King.
Okay.
Goffin and King.
Yeah.
60s, we're going to go 60s. I got to go Goffin and King every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. We could replay this, but whatever. This is our show. We can do whatever the hell we want.
The beauty is, seriously, there's no wrong answers,
There's
and
no
we
wrong
can
answers.
do whatever
we
want.
But I can't. I got to trade in. If it's not folk.
But also, I like you having 2 answers. But my man James, James, one of the best things that's come out of the show is one, I see James every 2 weeks. But 2 is, I hope I've inspired him a little bit. But I love his input and output and his views on music.
Well, I mean, James was. I mean, I think James was brought up as an idea in the show, that he was going to be one of the hosts because we both
love his music.
freaking
so
admired
who would
his
you
taste
say?
in
Because
music.
we're similar age,
I'm going to go kind of songwritery, but skewed a little bit. Is Harry Nilsson.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're talking about 60s.
Can I say fuck yeah? I'm going to say fuck yeah.
Man, this is so terrible. I got work to do. I got clients in 20 minutes.
And the brilliance of him saying Nilsson is that it teeters on the folk and the pop.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And just an amazing...
Yeah.
The Beatles came to America. They asked Mac who his favorite band was. He goes, Harry Nilsson. They go, who's your favorite singer-songwriter? He goes, Harry Nilsson.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to cheers here. Randy, man, my only complaint about you in this life is that I don't see you enough.
Yeah,
I remember I was with my dad and I bumped you at a Starbucks a few years ago. My dad's like, "What a nice young man." I go, "Yeah, that dude's awesome." Man,
my only complaint is that I've just now met you. You seem really cool as shit.
Let's work on a song together soon.
Hey,
all right, love you.
I know you're gonna leave him.
I'll be back in a few weeks. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, Casey, Allie, Jameson.